Welcome, everybody, to today's film discussion of Francois Truffaut's Fahrenheit 451. This is a good book, not necessarily a great book. And I'm with Dr. John Sr., who famously said there's really many good books out there that you need to read. You don't necessarily have to focus on the great books. And I think Fahrenheit 451 is a good book. I think I probably had heightened expectations coming into this film. One, it's Francois Truffaut directing, and he also wrote the screenplay. So a director who has also creative input from himself, I think makes the vision come together a bit more clearly. You have Bernard Herrmann doing the score. Bernard Herrmann, who worked with Hitchcock all those years on all those films and had these iconic scores, like the Vertigo score is a score that comes into my head frequently. And then it's a Ray Bradbury story to get you started. So with those three things together, I thought Truffaut in the 60s, Bernard Herrmann, Ray Bradbury, this will be good. And it was frankly average. And I hate to be the one to say that, but it felt very average to me. And in some ways, the potential of the Bradbury story was lost because the Bradbury story is not, as I say, it's a good story, not a great story. It seems that Truffaut is playing around with different ideas and different possibilities and just leaves those threads there for us to go down, which is fine in a film format. Who am I to, talk about, whether Truffaut knows how to tell a story or not? But I felt unsatisfied with those threads. I didn't feel he developed them enough for us to want to explore them more deeply. So I'm just going to talk about a few things. If you haven't read Fahrenheit 451, the back of the envelope version is this is a dystopic future in which firemen exist not to put out fires because all houses are fireproof, but to start fires with piles of books. So anytime books are found, they are to be burned. And that's the premise of the novel. So this adaptation doesn't, I wouldn't say it differs significantly from the novel. So from its source material as an adaptation, it's not significantly different. We have what is clearly an experimental title sequence. The titles are read out instead of being written, and maybe there's something to be said there. Books are disappearing, books have to be hidden or secret, so I can't put text up on the screen. I thought that might have been fun or interesting. I thought it was fun that some of the books were hidden behind the television. This is, really what television has replaced. It's come in front of books for many people. Many of the visuals that we see are Penguin classics. As you know, on this channel, I've talked often about my love for Penguin, the publishing house and their editions. And so seeing a lot of those classic editions burned was interesting. And I think different people have had different experiences watching a favorite text burn. So Truffaut lingers in various burning scenes on different books burning in different ways and different titles long enough for you to see the title of the book. And so for me, the painful one was Turgenev's Fathers and Sons, probably my favorite Russian novel, underrated, I think. And watching it burn there, I thought that was my moment. Other people had other books that they were probably pretty attached to that they watched burn as well. And I think that was part of what Truffaut was hoping for. He wanted people to have a personal connection with whatever books were being burned. So what are some of the differences? Well, we have Clarice, who, fascinatingly, I suppose, Truffaut has her play both the wife and this other character. Now, in the novel, Clarice is a precocious young girl, anywhere, let's say, between 12 and 16 years old, just asking questions about life and about assumptions about life from Montag, who's our main character. And in the adaptation, Clarice is the same age as Montag's wife and is played by the same actress, a very young Julie Christie, one with short hair and one with long hair. And I don't know whether she shot the long-haired ones first and then cut her hair, or had her hair cut and was wearing a wig for the others. I don't know. I didn't investigate far enough. Christie, I think, does an okay job. I don't think she has a lot of material to work with, but I didn't find her portrayal particularly compelling. And she what she is given to do, I think she does fine, which is the drugged out housewife effectively. And a lot of the people in the society are drugged out There's all these different sorts of pills, and in fact, at one point, she clearly has an overdose, and Montag has to call, emergency services, and they're asking, well, which one is it? Oh, it's in a red bottle, and it's blue pills, or whatever it might be. And it's clear from what he had said, okay, don't do anything. Someone will be there in 4 minutes. She had obviously taken the wrong pill in the wrong dose, whatever it might be. They have to change out her blood, it seems. And in the morning, she doesn't remember anything. And this is another issue in that this society in which there's no reading, there seems to be no remembrance of how things happened or what happened. And the drugs, I think, push this further. Now, we see this drug trope frequently in dystopic literature. We see it in Brave New World, obviously, and a, I would say, B movie that is a take of various different dystopic themes is Equilibrium, featuring Christian Bale and Tyrese. Is it Tyrese Gibson? Don't remember his name. And of course, Boromir, who's that Sean Bean, who fulfills the role that Sean Bean fulfills in all films, which is to be killed at some point. But Equilibrium has this drug issue and then books, but apart from books, there's also knickknacks, antiques, that kind of thing. And people are guarding these books. And the other trope is the betrayer is someone in authority. So Montag is one of the firemen. He is going around hunting these criminals down. And it turns out he then becomes co-opted. And there's even a speech between him and his superior who, denigrates the books and says, well, every fireman has in his life, had a desire to see what's really behind. Don't fall for it. So that's the through line: books, drugs, police state. And that is the frame for any number of dystopic worlds that we have. What Truffaut adds to it, which I find vaguely interesting, but as I say, he doesn't follow up. At one point, we see a policeman accosting a young man, saying, "What's this?" And he has longer hair, longer than mine. But then he has clippers, and he does sort of a forced haircut on the street. I really like something else, which are these post boxes, but there's a police light, a blue rotating police light on top of it, and that's where you go to denounce people. So you can simply put a photo of a loved one or a colleague or a neighbor or an enemy, and you put it into the box, and then that person will have the firemen or whatever other agency called on them. So we have these denouncing boxes, we have these forced haircuts. There's also this sense of tactility, and my question was, where was it coming from? Was it a side effect of the drugs? Was it a question of being removed from access to a moral universe via books? People have to resort to something more tactile. So you would see people sort of touching, feeling themselves, or putting fur. If they had a fur coat, they'd rub the fur up against their neck. And Truffaut doesn't really develop this. We see this throughout different parts of the film. And if it's something I'm missing, and that's very obvious, please let me know in the comments, either in the stream or later on if you're watching this on replay. Let me know if I'm missing something. I came onto my knowledge of Truffaut through his Truffaut Hitchcock book, in which he interviews Hitchcock, and you get a lot of sense of an outsider's view of what Hitchcock is trying to do, and a great opportunity to hear Hitchcock talk for himself about his art in a way that no one had really asked him about before. So I appreciated Truffaut for that, and I've seen some of his other work. So I think that's why I was disappointed. One scene in particular that is one of the more memorable set piece scenes in the book is Montag confronting his wife and her friends, who are sort of ranting about their society, and not sorry, they're not ranting, they're talking very casually about their society, and Montag goes on a rant against them. They realize, oh, he's disturbed, he's ill, and then he reads them part of a novel, and the way that novel is delivered and the way one of the characters reacts to it, I think, makes that scene effective. But still, the overall thrust of things, what can I give credit for? I think the overall world building looks good. It's a more European setting than the book. The book is set in America. I think effectively this is transported to Europe. Truffaut can't help himself. I know, and it was filmed in Pinewood Studios, the very famous Pinewood Studios in England, anyway. So I think that's to be expected. But some of the set dressing, the black uniforms for the firemen, the almost priestly garb that he puts on in the beginning to burn the books, the monorail, the uh, both sliding down and sliding up fire poles. The truck itself, the fire truck, is a very weird, funny, interesting device. And other than that, I think we see a pretty standard dystopic vision. So for its time, not bad. With the source material, not bad. But from Truffaut, from Herman, from Bradbury, we might expect more, but that doesn't mean what is delivered isn't out of itself worthy of watching or appreciation. So not not a 5 out of 5 for me, but maybe a 3.5 out of 5, 3.6. Did anyone else in the chat have a chance to watch the film, or do you have questions about the novel, questions about Ray Bradbury? Any comments? If not, I will wrap up and put in a plug for Palestine Bookshelf. I'll be over there in about 15 minutes or so. We're going to be talking about a documentary called Janine. Janine. Yes, it's Janine twice by Mohammed Bakri. And it was about the Battle of Janine. Well, not about the battle. It's filmed in the aftermath of the battle, which happened in April 2002 during the Second Intifada. And he just goes around and talks to Palestinians of all ages and to hear their reflections. So well done and worth discussing, which we will do in a bit. Any other thoughts or questions? All right. Well, thanks for stopping by. And if you have any questions or comments afterwards, as I say, feel free to put those comments there, and the conversation can continue. If you think there are other Truffaut films I could consider doing a film club for, or if there are other Ray Bradbury books that you like that we could potentially talk about, I'm happy to consider that as well. All right, we will see you next time.